Captain Fantastic Siya Kolisi is back in South Africa and he has re-signed for the Sharks. Kolisi has left Racing 92, the French top 14 club, after a short stint in France. In this video, I will try to answer the question whether or not this is a good thing or a bad thing. Well, the news was announced on Monday via a Sharks news release. Let's see what Captain Siya Kolisi had to say. My family and I have enjoyed a wonderful year abroad that has given us cherished memories. We have missed South Africa though, and it is time to come home. I would like to thank Racing 92 for accommodating my request to return home and for the exciting opportunity they gave me to play abroad. It is a great club steeped in tradition with an impressive group of players who I can now call brothers for life. So it's probably the worst kept secret in South African rugby at the moment. About a month ago, we all knew that Siya Kolisi was probably headed home. Now, I must tell you, when I heard that news for the first time, I was a little bit excited because as a Stormers supporter, I was hoping that Siya might come home to Cape Town. So I can just imagine if you are a Sharks fan, how you might be feeling at this moment. But let's take a step back. After we won the Rugby World Cup last year for the second time in a row and fourth time overall, Siya Kolisi shortly thereafter left the Sharks and joined Racing 92. Now, I personally thought it was a very, very good move for him because I think that he's the kind of player who deserves an opportunity to play on the world stage as far as club rugby is concerned. I was also excited because, as it turns out, Racing 92 is my favorite French team. So, in a way, when I was disappointed that Siya left the Stormers to go to the Sharks, I was now re-excited because he would once again be playing for a team that I support, even though my support for Racing 92 is nowhere near as passionate as it is for the Stormers and Western Province. But unfortunately, it didn't last very long for Siya, and by the end of the season, the writing, sadly, was on the wall. Now, there have been reports that the Kolisi family were not happy in Paris, and quite frankly, if you saw the Olympic Games opening ceremony, you can fully understand why. But on a very serious note, I've actually been to Paris myself and I quite liked it. But you know what? Different people react to different things in different ways. It's possible that maybe Siya liked it and Rachel didn't, or Rachel liked it and Siya didn't, or the children were not happy. They were not maybe adapting at school. There's all sorts of things that could have been going on, and that's probably a private matter, so best we don't speculate. But what we do know, and we can talk about, is what was going on the field. Now, it didn't help when the club owner, Jackie Lorenzetti, made some disparaging remarks about our captain after they lost in the playoffs to Bordeaux last season. He accused Siya of being anonymous. He also accused Siya of being transparent and claimed that Kolisi had gained weight during a break during the season. He was, however, reportedly earning around 1 million euros per season playing for the French club. Nice money if you can get it, but let's be honest, it's not the kind of thing I reckon that the Sharks can afford to pick up. So, who's paying? The word is that Saru are actually contributing towards the transfer fee and Siya's salary. There's another story, again, another allegation that a businessman has come on board to help the Sharks pay for this transfer and indeed the salary that Siya would be earning here. One thing that we should be doing, I believe, is speculating and answering the following question. Is this a good deal? Well, let's try and break it down. Firstly, a 33-year-old playing in France in the top 14 is probably not really what Rassie Erasmus would be wanting, especially when that 33-year-old is his captain. Rassie, I reckon, would be wanting to wrap Siya in cotton wool ahead of that 2027 Rugby World Cup. Game and time management is something that Rassie can control far better if Siya is playing in South Africa with the Sharks, because he won't have to play every game. Rassie can obviously have a word with the likes of Neil Powell and try and make something happen, come to an arrangement. You can't do that when your player is in France or in England, Japan, etc., etc. So from that point of view, I think the Springboks are possibly the biggest beneficiary of this deal. There's also the matter of Rassie having said at the beginning of the season that he would prefer to have his captain playing in South Africa. Now, the Springboks dropped their overseas player policy years ago. Previously, you will remember that if a player was playing overseas, he was ineligible for the Springboks, and then they kind of altered it and they said, well, if you've played a certain number of test matches, or if the coach feels that you are superior to anything that we have at home, then you become eligible. But then they scrapped that altogether, and anyone was eligible to play for the Springboks, a rule that I 100% agree with. It's a professional sport, guys, and I always like to use this as an example. In football, can you imagine if Argentina did not select Lionel Messi, and the argument was, we can't select him because he plays his club football in the USA? Everybody would laugh, and rightly so. It's a professional sport. So Rassie, in a way, has got his wish that he now has his captain back here. I do think that it could be worth asking the question whether or not there may have been a conversation had with Siya where they said, look, if you continue to play over there, we cannot guarantee that we will be selecting you as our captain, and we might need to give the armband to someone else. Personally, I don't think that that is a conversation that would have taken place, but we don't know for a fact, and it is interesting, I think. Another big benefit, in my opinion, that will come of Siya returning to the Sharks is that not only is it a fact that he's there and he can lead by example, but he can also play a mentoring role. And I'm thinking a guy like Pepsi Buthelezi, for example, would benefit tremendously from having Siya Kolisi just on the training ground. Because remember, sometimes these players who come with their experience, like Siya Kolisi, Eben Etzebeth is another example at the Sharks, Vincent Koch, you've got to include him there now, Trevor Nyakane. These guys, they don't necessarily have to be adding value on match day. They're adding incredible value on the training ground alone, and that is something that is worth its weight in gold. That transfer of knowledge, as they call it. And then from a Siya Kolisi perspective, if we take him at face value, and there's really no reason that we shouldn't, then we can say that he went to Paris for a season. It didn't quite work out. Him and his family would be richer for the experience. They now get to come home, and the 33-year-old warhorse no longer has to tough it out in the most difficult rugby league week in, week out anymore. So physically and commercially, I think it is a good thing. From a commercial perspective, maybe you would say that it would have been better for Siya to go to Japan, but I think that maybe, just in line with what I was saying a moment ago, the conversation with Rassie may have gone, look, I want to come home, I don't want to be in Paris anymore, I'm thinking of going to Japan, and Rassie says, look, we've given you the leeway here. You can remain Springbok captain while you're in France. But if you go to Japan, then maybe I might have to look at making a change. Again, we're just speculating. We've got absolutely no idea whether or not that is true or not. No one has said anything to help us be any wiser. So then the next logical question is, when will Sharks fans get to see Siya Kolisi back in that famous black and white jersey for the first time? Well, there is a Currie Cup semi-final coming up this Saturday against the Blue Bulls, although I think it's highly unlikely that Rassie Erasmus will allow his captain to be involved in that match, given the vicious Sam Cane tackle on Siya at Ellis Park just a couple of weeks ago. We know that Siya requires surgery on his nose as a result of that. He managed to play against the All Blacks at Newlands and put in a magnificent display. And I think that Rassie will want to include Siya against Argentina for one of the last two Rugby Championship matches. We know already, it's confirmed, that the Boks are sending one squad to South America and another squad of players will be staying behind for the Nelspruit Test matches. I don't yet know whether Siya is going to South America or whether he'll be staying behind. But I do think it would be great if Siya could delay the operation so that he could personally lift the Rugby Championship trophy. I think that that would be a tremendous moment. I don't know if it's medically advisable for him to do so, but it's something that could happen. The Sharks begin their United Rugby Championship campaign, as it turns out, on the 28th of September. That also happens to be the first day, or at least the day, of that test match in Nelspruit against Los Pumas. So I don't think we're going to see Siya running out against Connacht in that match. So most likely Sharks fans will get to see Siya running out in a Sharks jersey for the first time since re-signing somewhere around mid to late October. And the reason for that is because because we've been told that it will take around 3 weeks for Siya to recover post-operation. But ultimately, we're going to have to wait and see what happens. So tell me what you guys think. Are you happy about Siya returning and playing for the Sharks? I think if you're a Sharks fan, the answer is yes. If you're not a Sharks supporter, I'd be very interested to hear what your take is on this. Maybe you agree with me, maybe you don't. Let me know in the comment section down below. And if you're still watching, that tells me that you've enjoyed this video, and maybe, I would like to believe, you would like to support me. There's a couple of ways that you can do that. You can hit or even spear tackle or croc roll the like button. You can also subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. And I've got a new button on my channel, guys. It's called Super Thanks. This is how it works. Down there somewhere, you'll see a heart with a $ in front of it. If you click on that, you can make a highlighted comment on this video and also make a small donation to me. I've received things like 14 Rand, 7 Australian dollars, 100 Rand. These are just some of the examples. It's entirely up to you with whatever it is that you are comfortable with. I will be very, very grateful. I will also hit the heart button on your comment, and I promise to reply to it as well. And if you can't find that super thanks button that I've just discussed, go and have a look. There's 3 dots on another button, and if you click on that, then you will see the heart with the $ inside of it, and then you can also contribute towards the super thanks community. I'll be very, very grateful, as I say. Now, let me finish with this. If you're new to the channel, or maybe you haven't watched this video that I've already put together, the Springboks beat the All Blacks in Cape Town in the Rugby Championship, and I put together an extensive review video. Here it is on your screen right now. You can go and watch that. And further to that, since we're talking about Siya Kolisi, a Springbok captain, I interviewed another famous former Springbok captain a while back, Gary Teichmann. He, of course, was dropped just before the 1999 Rugby World Cup. He talks about that and so much more in this video over here. And I will see you in the next video.